Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Utopia podcast. I am Chris, and with me again, like usual, is Tommy. Tommy, how are you?
A little bit tired. I was waiting up all night waiting for that blog to come down, but waited a little bit longer than I wanted to.
Well, at least you just stayed up awake and weren't holding your breath, because that would have been really bad waiting that day and a half for it. Here we are, the latest blog is out. It talks about Season Showdown, more specifically about the skills category. It's a way to earn credits for your school. We're going to talk about that, and after that, we'll talk about a recently released interview with Ben Haumiller, courtesy of Operation Sports. First off, let's skim through this Season Showdown skills aspect. This is a way to earn credits for your school with user-based actions. We all know what these are: the user catches, user tackles, user sacks, user picks. It's what we look for and strive for when we play the game, and it really focuses on what people like to call, for bad lack of a term, stick skills. Tommy, we also had a video with this, and it kind of showed brief glimpses of gameplay. Probably one of the better videos we've seen, just because it had some gameplay stuff in it, and it also showed off the new player lock feature. Talk about your thoughts on all of this, on the user aspect, on the player lock, and the video in general.
The video does show off quite a few new things for us. It shows off some animations we hadn't seen previously. My favorite is the one where Jonathan Dwyer, fullback 21, takes a handoff and kind of trucks forward, but he stumbles his way to the line. It looks really neat, and it's something we hadn't seen before. But then as well, the video shows us how the player lock will work. It gives us an actual gameplay video of showing how you'll actually use that in the game. And then as well, it talks about that you will get a boost on your season showdown skill points. You'll get a boost by being in player lock when you have one of those user skill moments.
If anybody wants to see this video with the new animations and to see Ben Haumiller and Russ Canary talk more about skills in Season Showdown, head over to the Inside blog at insideblog.easports.com or go to ncaaStrategies.com. We have it up right now in our featured NCAA Strategies channel in the upper right of the screen. Right before we came on the show actually and started this, Operation Sports posted an interview with the NCAA Football 10 producer Ben Haumiller. It talked about a lot of things we already knew, but it finally kind of disclosed yes or no answers on some of the features people have been asking about a lot in the NCAA football community. Tommy, let's talk about kind of the big things that he talked about in this interview. What did we finally find out one way or the other on?
We actually got quite a few, I guess, we'll say disappointments. Just some of them are huge features that people have been wanting. Some of them are small features that people have been wanting. One of the biggest ones, of course, is that we are not getting formation subs. Ben kind of dodged the question as for custom playbooks. He didn't really address whether we would have custom playbooks this year or not, but he kind of lended as though it sounded like we wouldn't. So then as well, some of the smaller things, like we're not getting any new custom stadium sound events. I know a lot of people have been wanting to be able to watch other people's gameplay in an online dynasty. We're not getting that this year. It's actually a lot to learn in this interview that kind of addresses some of the things that haven't been talked about prior.
That's right. This blog or interview, I should say, is kind of the one that lets us know the final word on, like you said, formation subs, custom playbooks, and also no in-game saves. I thought it was interesting the question that asked about viewing online dynasty games online to see your foes or league members play. It's something that he said they are working behind the scenes on trying to eliminate the technical issues, which I can imagine that is pretty tough if someone wants to actually see the game, that depending on people are trying to go in and watch on the server at the same time and how they would feed that across. It's nice to know they're looking at that. Overall, good interview in terms of we finally get clarification on some of these features that I know at NCAA Strategies. A lot of people were wondering about formation subs not in the game. Based on what we know now, and we know, I hate to say this, but we know almost everything about the game publicly. Maybe I'm missing something in my mind. We know a lot. We don't know about Road to Glory, so we can throw that out. Kind of early on, what are the one or two features that you're most excited to see in this game, and what are the one or two that you think are going to be imperative or the big community wishes for NCAA Football 11?
One for sure that everybody's just going to really like is Team Builder. It's something to play around with. Even if you're a football purist, you can go in there and add your team with an additional alternate jersey, or you can go in there and just make some tweaks to different small things about your team and still be a purist of your team. That kind of has the ability to touch on everybody. As well, with all the gameplay tweaks they've made that Russ has already talked about, it kind of it leads itself to be a much better game than what 09 was. 09 had, in my opinion, had a great base to work from, and then with just some key improvements, 10 could be a great game. As far as things that they left out of the game, formation subs is huge. That's something that you almost have to have in any future games, just because it allows you to put in some of your scrubs on special teams. It allows you to get your power back into I big formations. It allows you to do all sorts of different things that you might have players leave because they didn't get to play simply because you didn't have a formation to put them in. It's something that's got to be in next year. That, and top of my wish list is at least custom playbooks. I would love for a creative play of some sort, but there's obviously big technical difficulties to get over that.
I was gonna say, I'm going to go with, for the features that I like that I've heard about, the improved pursuit angles I think are the most underrated, and I know I've said that several times on this show, but I'm still going to hammer that home. I think that's going to make such a huge difference in 09. If you had a fast running back and could get outside, you were off to the races due to the poor pursuit angles. I think that's going to be huge, and I think it's an aspect that's been overlooked. And I'm going to go with the combination also of the improved offensive line, defensive line interaction, and also the wide receiver, defensive back interaction that I think is going to add a new realm to the game in terms of we now have a pocket, thank goodness, and also with the improved wide receiver, defensive back interaction, maybe that'll open up the deep passing game a little more, make it a little more realistic as well. That I think it was something that the game needed. I'm going to echo the same things you said for NCAA Football 11, and up at the EA Sports season opener event in New York City, I had told a couple of developers, I said, I already know what you're going to hear a lot for 11. It's going to be formation subs and custom playbooks, and you're 100% correct. I think as we go along, those are going to be the two big things I think people are going to want to see in there.
And they're going to have to do custom playbooks bigger than what we had before. On last gen, it was almost, we kind of had it, but it was almost kind of broken because you couldn't select any and every play. You had to, like some of the specialty formations like Emory and Henry from South Carolina, you had to start with South Carolina in order to include that formation. They need to allow you to select from a wide variety of plays. Take a look at how All Pro Football did it on their 2K8 game, and just see how you can literally select every single play that's in the game and put it in your playbook.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're going to have to make it bigger and better than last gen. And one thing in their credit is they've done that with, I think, the vast majority of features they've brought over from last gen have been improved significantly. So hopefully next year we'll see formation subs, custom playbooks. After NCAA 10 is out, we'll have a show kind of talking about the community wishes and what they want for NCAA Football 11. But I think those are the two things on NCAA Football 10. I think are going to be maybe a small black eye. Those are the two big things that on the community really wanted. So with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Utopia podcast. But before we do, Tommy, how many days are we away from the release of NCAA Football 10?
We now have 52 days away. That's still quite a bit of time, but I think what a lot of people need to pay attention to is coming up is E3. We don't know any particular word or anything like that, but we assume that NCAA is going to have a pretty good presence there and hopefully start to see some actual gameplay videos coming out. Last year around this time, we'd already seen some full gameplay videos. So hopefully around E3, shortly thereafter, that we start seeing that coming from some of the media outlets.
And for Tommy, I'm Chris. Everyone, thanks for listening to this edition of the Utopia podcast.